and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This afternoon we have a busy agenda. Public notification of this meeting was published and posted and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. And we have confirmed that with Ms. Tiffany. I would like a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
All right. All right. Motion was made by Councilman Rodman and seconded by Councilman Glover. Without objection, the agenda is approved. Oh, she brought me. Okay, I don't need it. All right. Now we have the minutes from February 7th, which were in our packet. I entertain a motion for approval of those.
So moved, Madam Chairman. Second.
And second, okay. Councilman Rodman made the motion. It was seconded by Councilman Somerville. Without objection, that is passed. Before we continue to citizens' comments, I'd like everyone to note who is here in person. We have Councilman Lawson, Councilman Cunningham, Councilman Somerville, Councilman Rodman, myself, and Councilman Glover. And then online, we have Councilman Dawson and Chairman Passman. Thank you.
Councilmember McEllen.
Oh, is he? Okay, thank you. I didn't see him. Is he there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilman McEllen. All right. At this time, we are going to entertain citizens' comments. I would like to remind everyone of the ground rules about it, that you are limited to 3 minutes, and we are only going to have a total of 15 minutes of public comment this afternoon. The commenter will address the council in a respectful manner, appropriate to the decorum of the meeting, refraining from the use of profane, abusive, or obscene language. We did have a large portion of emails concerning Mayland Bluff, which were sent to all council members prior to the meeting. And I'm not sure of the total, but it was at least 15 or 20. I know 15. Anyway, I think everyone received those, and I hope everyone read them. The only person we have signed up for public comment today is Harold Williams, and he is going to speak about the same subject, Mayland Bluff. If you would like to come forward. Yes, sir. And if you'll state your name, where you live, your address before you start. Okay.
Members of the Community Development Council, my name is Harold Williams. I live at 274 Mayland Bluff Drive. We had the pleasure of being one of the first homeowners in the Pulte Mayland Bluff community. We searched long and hard before we decided to purchase in this beautiful community. We were well aware of the fact that the front of our community on Route 170 will be developed as commercial properties, per zoning approval of just 2 years ago. In fact, our homes came with an option of a golf cart parking in our garage so we could drive our electrical vehicles to the local shops without leaving our compound. Route 70, as I'm sure you all know, is a tremendously busy highway with all the problems that follow such. Earlier in the month, the superintendent of schools sent an email to all parents notifying of a serious busing afternoon delay due to an accident on Route 95 South, which resulted in all lanes being closed on 95 and all the traffic was led on to 170, which you can imagine causing massive delays. We feel that housing on this property is not due to social conscience, but rather to maximize the value of the property. We all recognize the need for more housing, but not on this postage stamp piece of property. I ask the board to examine all the facts and deny the change in zoning. Thank you for your service to the county, and God bless our troops. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so anyone that didn't sign up that wishes to make any comments? Do we have anyone else?
Yeah, I'm here, Graham Trask.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Mr. Trask.
Yeah, I'm Graham Trask. I'm raised in Beaufort, on a home in Beaufort, and own significant property in Beaufort. I'd like to comment on the proposed amendment process concerning the drive-throughs. which you may or may not be hearing tonight. It appears to me that potentially the county council and the county staff have been co-opted by a vocal minority of transplant elites who are hell-bent on prohibiting lawful development along Sea Island Parkway corridor. This group of elites go under the name of the Sea Island Corridor Coalition and is led by a transplant elite himself, who was a part-time real estate broker on Dautaw, selling real estate to like-minded elites. These elites descend on Beaufort and live in communities, some gated for the wealthy, such as Dautaw. They clog roads, exhaust the infrastructure, and then blame other people for the problems they themselves have created. They are well organized and know how to play the county government system. They are also at the forefront of telling everyone else what they can and cannot do. They have plenty of time and money to attend county council and other meetings with the goal of giving the impression that they represent the majority, when in fact they are the minority. This is in stark contrast to the true majority that include the families living in trailers and modest homes right outside the Dautaw Gatehouse, which is there to protect the elite's way of life. These families that comprise the majority have no access to the elite's golf courses, walking paths, and on-island cafes where these elites enjoy coffee and pastries and strategize on how they can stop development along their ride into town. The true majority are left to frequent the public commercial establishments that these elites are trying to ban. Furthermore, the silent majority has to work. They can't make meetings at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the county. These elites most recently have been focused on my drive-through project, which itself objectively meets all the county zoning laws and special use requirements written in the county code, the comprehensive plan, and the Ladies Island plan. The county's own planning group confirmed its compliance to the county's ZBOA 4 times prior to 2 weeks ago when Parrot Greenway and Rob Merchant apparently unethically, if not unlawfully, changed their position based on political pressure from county council. At minimum, the public now sees that the county government and its staff can't be trusted. A court will decide the outcome for my project, as I will appeal the ZBOA's decision. Basic economic concepts suggest that the elite's proposal is flawed and a better solution exists.
Mr. Travis, you've reached your limit, but on time. We appreciate your comments this evening. And if you want to finish your sentence, go ahead.
Well, I also represent my company, so I'd like another 3 minutes.
No, sir, it's 3 minutes per person. Not
per entity?
No, sir. No, sir.
I see. So do you have other people that want to talk?
It's just 3 minutes per person. It's not a matter of how many people we have making public comment. So.
I see. So you're shutting off public debate. Again, okay. Got it. I'll submit this to the minutes.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have it in the minutes too.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Did anyone else sign up online? Ms. Brock?
Mr. David?
No.
He'll speak,
No.
He'll speak as a part of his reason.
Okay, then no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So there's no other citizen comments at this time. All right, number 7 on the agenda is the Rural and Critical Lands Preservation Program 2021 Annual Report presentation by Ms. Schaefer.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I do have handouts, hard copies of the annual report for you, and we will leave the rest here at the county. So, hi, Kate Schaefer with the Open Land Trust, consulting for the Rural and Critical Lands Program, and proud to be on the contracting team to help manage and execute this program. And I will spend my time efficiently, but it is cause for great celebration to look back on the accomplishments of 2021, what you and your council and your county team, as well as the landowners in Beaufort County, have contributed to for our shared public benefit. So before you see the 2021 annual report. The map on the first page highlights the 3 protected properties from this past year. I want to take just a few minutes on each property and then think forward for the work that lies ahead. So Henry Farm North is 88 acres on St. Helena Island. You all approved the conservation easement on this property in October. And this is a partnership with the South Carolina Conservation Bank and the Open Land Trust as an entity. The Center for Heirs Property now owns and manages this property under the regulations and guidelines of the conservation easement, which are written with community agriculture in mind. So this property, moving forward, will be known as the St. Helena Community Farm, and the Center for Heirs Property is taking a very proactive, listening ear to thinking about what type of activities need to occur on the property within the confines of the easement to meet the needs of the St. Helena community, addressing issues like local farming and heirs property ownership with some demonstration sites, community engagement, public access, and the like. This was an important and critical investment because it represented a property that hit the open real estate market, and it demonstrates how a program like Rural and Critical can act quickly and nimbly to save property before it is transitioned to some other use. With farmland, it's especially important because if that prime soil is lost, say to the foundation of a housing development, it is no longer valuable prime soil to grow produce. And so while you or I may not be a farmer using that prime soil, we certainly benefit from the folks that do. And that's a great example. The second property we refer to as Bermuda Bluff, but it is right outside of the Bermuda Bluff development on St. Helena. And the Rural and Critical program protected this property with fee ownership by Beaufort County. It's 24 acres on the water. It surrounds an existing county-owned facility that's actively used as a fishing site for recreational or kind of everyday water access. And this property is really significant, one, because it protected the road to get to this existing county fishing site, but also the land around it, and can be developed into a passive park for other public enjoyment. My favorite anecdote about this property is that when we needed it surveyed, the surveyor who responded to us was so eager to see this property protected, he completed the survey 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So really remarkable piece there, and I encourage you to drive out to see the view of the Port Royal Sound and of Paris Island from this portion of St. Helena. And then the third property was the third largest rural and critical property to date, and that's Oak Point, also called the Dale PDR, at over 2,000 acres. This represented a partnership between the Department of Defense with their Readiness and Environmental Protection Program. And the key attributes of this property are, in addition to the contiguity and connectivity to the larger ACE Basin land conservation effort and the investment that Rural and Critical has made to date, attributes include benefit to Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. And I think we see that every day in our local defense economy, but also in times of critical need and when accidents occur, having that protected airspace is really important for the safety of our pilots and our residents. So thankful to be able to bring that property to a close as well. When the local news station sent out a reporter to meet, Chris Opart, your public information officer, did a great job setting up a news interview. And we met out there north of the site, and the reporter, I guess, was telling his boss, when his boss asked, "What's this project about?" He says, "Well, I think it's about everything. It checks all the boxes: economy, environment, quality of life." And I think that's just a great takeaway from that land protection opportunity as well. So in 2021, we protected over 2,100 acres. That brings the total program investment up to over 28,000 acres. It's roughly split between fee simple and conservation easements. But again, using the example of the St. Helena Community Farm, even if you never step foot on a protected property, we benefit from the clean water, the scenic road corridors, and the agricultural or forestry benefit it provides. Our passive parks program Was also busy with several parks opening, including Widget Point, Fort Frederick, and the Fort Fremont History Center, as well as working on conceptual plans. And I know Stephanie does a great job reporting to you all about the success of the Passive Parks program. But I do highlight that here in the annual report to highlight the increased coordination and efficiency between the contracting role and the county planning staff. I think we've really spent the bulk of the year developing some strong rapport, and that helps for proactive planning for new land conservation as well. The bond referendum and the green print are obviously our guiding documents when we think about new land protection projects. The green print helps infuse some science into the art of bringing a landowner to the table. And the bond referendum language is that really strong legal confines to where we can spend money. So that being said, the next deadline for the Rural and Critical program is March 31st. Applications are reviewed quarterly. They're on the website. And having that quarterly application process provides some nice cadence to the program so we can work proactively to protect important properties and engage with landowners, and then also then respond when applications come in to bring the best projects forward to you all. Another thing we are doing in 2022 are site visits to previously protected properties. We had a successful site visit last week to Three Sisters Farm and You Pick Daffodils in Bluffton. It was a property that was protected in 2004, representing over 1,400 acres. It's 143 acres, part of 1,400 acres in the Okatee corridor. And in 2004, protecting that portion of the Okatee corridor was really proactive and visionary. So we're reaping the benefits of that proactive thought. And I think that just raises the bar to say, what are we going to do in 2022 that pays those dividends 15 years from now? It's a remarkable challenge and a wonderful opportunity that we have in Beaufort County to take our own taxpayer dollars, use them wisely, leverage them with state and federal resources, and really create that investment for generations down the road. So I'm proud of the work that we do. I hope you all are proud of the votes you take on rural and critical lands projects and the work the program has done countywide. I'd love to take any questions, if there are any, on 2021, or hear some thoughts and feedback on the year ahead.
Anyone? Yeah, Councilman Rodman?
Yeah, I should know that, well, first of all, it's pretty amazing when we think we're coming up on the 200 million mark when you fold everything together and the impact it has on the county. We appreciate your hard work. I've lost a little track of it. How much more do we have in the current approval, and at the run rate, when would we potentially be going back to the voters to extend it?
Well, as far as when we're potentially going back for the voters, I think that's probably above my pay grade.
Yeah.
The voters get to decide that. But we have a financial update coming at our monthly meeting this month, actually, from our finance department. I believe it's around 15 million.
15?
And we'll have that full update on Thursday. So just a reminder, if anyone ever wants to participate in rural and critical land meetings, they're the second Thursday of every month at 2:30.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Glover.
Not a question. This is I want to make a comment to council. I did have an opportunity to go to the visit at the Three Sisters in Bluffton. The 143 acres that was preserved. And want to encourage council members when they do announce that they may want to just visit to see some of the sites that are being preserved at this time.
Thank you. It was wonderful to attend and have so many of our board members and have you there, Councilman Glover, just really to see the impact of our investment. And on that front, we are expanding our opportunity for March. The Open Land Trust has reached out to Coastal Expeditions, which is a outfitter here in northern Beaufort County that provides boat service and boat tours, and have the opportunity to take a boat tour down the Wimby River later in March to celebrate the conservation in that corridor, Oak Point being the most recent project, but obviously Chisholm and Coosaw and other projects in that area. So that will be March 24th from 3 to 5, and I'll work with staff to make sure everything is publicly noticed so that if all 11 council members and all 11 rural and critical board members show up, we are good, but would encourage anyone in this room or listening to reach out to me if you're interested in attending, and I'll be sharing more information as that becomes available. But site visits are important. We have a lot of landowners that are eager to show off their property and what they've done since the county invested in them, essentially allowing them to stay on their land. I think that was one of my takeaways from the Three Sisters conversation, is that putting an easement on the property allowed them to keep the property, which is a great gift to individuals, but also to the county as a whole.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank you and Miss Blake and Miss Nagin and all the hard work in the last year y'all did together and working on preserving land in Beaufort County.
I think we have a great team and we have fun doing it, so thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item will be presented by Ms. Stephanie Negid. It's number 8. Recommend approval of first reading of an ordinance authorizing the approval to terminate an easement and execute an easement encumbering a portion of property owned by Beaufort County and known as Ford Shell Ring. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Committee. Today, we're going to talk about Ford Shell Ring Park, which is on Hilton Head Island. About over 15 years ago now, the county and town co-purchased this property. It is approximately 7 acres and encompasses a 4,000-year-old Native American shell ring. So this is a little bit different than something like an oyster midden, which would be a mound of oyster trash, essentially. Shell rings were created by Native Americans as small walls or barriers around living areas or cooking areas. And so this shell ring on this property is a rough figure 8 design, and has dated back by some archaeological researchers that have gone to the property as 4,000 plus years old. So it was a very significant cultural resource. Because it was protected for so long, it has grown up into a very nice forest, and there's been some interest from the local archaeological society there on Hilton Head Island to see if it can be open to the public. They would love to go out there and take people out there and give tours and interpretation. They've shown an interest in creating interpretive signage to put on the property. And so with their interest, I approached the town planning staff to come up with a conceptual plan for the property. I believe, it's been some time now, but I believe I brought that conceptual plan to Natural Resources probably over a year ago at this point. And we've now created the construction drawings. The intent of this project was to create a low or no impact to the property. And we hired Cranston Engineering down there in Bluffton to do this plan, and they came up with some very creative ideas to where we are doing 0 digging on the land. Everything is above ground. So I'm very excited to implement this plan. The town of Hilton Head permitting process, we went through that, and we are now at the point where they have permitted the project and we can move forward with bidding and construction. During this planning effort, it became known to us that there was an easement agreement from 1991 between the prior landowner and an adjacent landowner. The adjacent landowner's property is not able to be accessed from Squire Pope Road except through the Ford Shell Ring property. So the 1991 easement showed a 15-foot access easement as well as a portion of the property that could be used by the adjacent neighbor for a septic tank and field. And when we saw that, we were very concerned about the possibility of a septic tank and field being put on a 4,000-year-old archaeological site. And we worked with the town and the adjacent landowner regarding what their zoning was on their property, what their intent to build on their property might be, and how we could adjust the easement to be more reflective of what their needs are as well as the protection of the property. So that is what you have before you today. It is the termination of that 1991 easement as well as the entry into a new easement agreement that still allows them access, but it does remove the septic field, and their access will now be on the newly aligned Park Road. So the road itself, the drive aisle for the road from Squire Pope up to 150 feet is about 22 feet wide, I think, 22 or 24 feet wide. And then it narrows after that to be part of the trail that's existing on the property that people will also be walking on. And then that's 15 feet from that point to their property.
Have any questions before we go forward? What's it? Stu or Larry, y'all live on Hilton Head, and any questions about it?
Sounds like a plan. A lot of good work.
All parties are in agreement to this new easement?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval of repealing the 1991 easement ordinance and executing a new one on a portion of that property known as Ford's Shell Ring.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Councilman Rodman made a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, Councilman Glover. Without objection, this will move forward to full council, the recommendation. Thank you very much. The next one is number 9. This is recommend approval of first reading of an ordinance repealing an ordinance creating the Southern Beaufort County Corridor Beautification Board. And this is going to be presented by our county administrator.
This is one of the tough things about the job that I dislike most, because I've worked closely with the Southern Beautification Board since I've been here as planning director, and they're a great group of folks that are very passionate about what they do. They've done a lot of great work down in the 170, 278 corridor as far as landscaping and the medians and things like that. I think it's come to the point now where they basically have fulfilled their obligations to the county and their mission for a variety of reasons. One of those is back when the Beautification Board was originally constituted, we didn't have the staff resources that we have now to develop landscaping plans and to do what we need to do for landscaping along roadway corridors. That has since changed, and we now have such a person in our planning and zoning department by the name of Nancy Moss, who also is the liaison for the Beautification Board. In addition to that, over the past several years, the South Carolina Department of Transportation is continually to tighten the reins on jurisdictions doing landscaping and roadways, meaning that whenever we put landscaping in a median along a roadway, they require us to take over the maintenance of that portion of the roadway, including grass cutting and things like that. That, in addition to the cost of doing the landscaping project, we have to then allocate funds annually to maintain those roadway sections, and in this particular case, it's several $100,000 for us to do so in the 278 corridor. And then in addition to that, many of you that travel that corridor have probably noticed, if you're paying attention, that sometimes you ride there and there's holes in the plantings where the bushes aren't where they should be, based on the pattern for the other bushes or the trees, or a tree may be leaning over and all that. And that's because people come down 278, traffic stopped in front of them, so they go into the median and they take out said plant material or push it over or whatever. And in some cases, it just doesn't look as well as it potentially could. We haven't done a good job of doing what we need to do to get that in replaced or properly maintained, because that's not a part of our maintenance contracts. So having said that, staff feels, or I feel, and I recommend to you all as the county administrator, that you all consider adopting an ordinance that would repeal the Beautification Board, and thank the folks. I think several of them are online today for their duty and service to the county, but I think their time of service on that board is no longer necessary or needed for the county, and we would encourage them to seek positions on other boards and commissions where we could use their talents and service, because they are a very talented group of people that have a lot of valuable input and can provide a lot of valuable services to the county as volunteers. So that's all I have, unless you all have any questions for me.
Let me open it up for questions. Several of us met with the board February 17th, and we have a great admiration for how long and what the work they have done over the years, and their expertise. This is as many of our boards are, has professionals who give their own free time to Beaufort County. So at this time, does anyone have any questions about the action we're proposing to take? Yes, sir.
No, just before we vote, I want to echo what our administrator said and thank them for all the faithful service they've done to Beaufort County and the wonderful things they've done. And we really appreciate it. And I'm sure they'll be active in other areas. Thank you.
Anyone online have any comments or questions? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to either dissolve the board or not. Need to state one or the other.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a second by Councilman Dawson. Without objection, this will move forward to the full council. All right, thank you. Number 10, this is recommend approval of first reading of an ordinance for approval of an amendment to the Osprey Point, or otherwise known as Beaufort Bluff, Plan Unit Development Master Plan to convert the commercial area to multifamily. And Mr. Merchant will be doing this presentation.
Okay, well, good afternoon. As you had mentioned, the Osprey Point is the official name of the PUD, but Malin Bluff is the name of the single-family development located at that site. And the applicant is proposing to amend the PUD to allow for, there's a portion on the front of the site, approximately 17.2 acres, which originally in the PUD language, which dates to 2019, allows for 207,000 square feet of commercial. The applicant is recommending amending the PUD to replace that with 204 multifamily units. They do have a revised plan that has a small retail component as well, about 7,100 square feet. So it wouldn't eliminate the retail entirely or commercial, but it would greatly scale it back. And as you're aware, the Malin Bluff Pulte development has been underway. About 2/3 of it has been platted, and the houses are being constructed very quickly in that area. So several things that we looked at. Traffic impacts, this is one of the concerns or questions that have come up about this site. We use the ARMS manual to figure out what triggers a development for, that would require a traffic impact analysis. The magic number we use is 50 peak hour trips. This particular, we have to go by the differential between the existing of what's approved and what is being proposed. 207,000 square feet of commercial generates a far larger number of peak hour trips, approximately 791, compared to the 90 that would be generated by the multifamily. And for that reason, as staff, we did not require the applicant to submit a traffic impact analysis. This project received support from the superintendent and one of the school board members, because of the proposal is to use low-income housing tax credits for this development. And the school district saw value in having affordable housing in this location as serving their employees and teachers. Would you mind if we interrupt you with a few questions? Right ahead. Yeah.
To that point, so this would have to be negotiated and put in writing, though, that the credit, it's not part of the zoning, it's just a proposal by the owner that he would do that.
Yes.
So that would have to be done separately and in writing, but that was the condition that the school superintendent gave the letter of support. Correct?
Yes, I mean, in this area, and when we've looked at other zoning amendments, there's always been a concern about capacity at Okatee Elementary. And so that makes this project unique in that matter. And so when we get to our recommendations, one of the this project is governed by, it's a plan unit development. So anytime you're opening up a plan unit development, there's opportunity to add conditional language in that document. But in the same way that when you're opening up the PUD, it's also governed by a development agreement. And so it would open up the possibility for renegotiation. So when we get to the recommendations,
Okay.
we
I'll try not
outline
to
some of the
interrupt you
things that
again.
we're-
Okay.
Oh, no, that's fine.
All right.
But I can jump ahead because I think that covers most of the dynamics of what's being proposed here. Planning Commission reviewed this at their January 3rd meeting, and at that time, they voted 6-1 to recommend denial of the PUD, expressing concerns about traffic and the impact on the surrounding neighborhood. As far as staff recommendation, as I had mentioned earlier, this, if council moves forward with this recommended amendment, we recommend that they look at the following conditions when they're looking at opening up the development agreement and PUD language. The first is that the master plan and PUD development standards shall be revised to meet the multifamily-oriented community standards in Article 2, Division 2.4 of the Community Development Code. One advantage of opening up the PUD agreement, currently it references our old zoning ordinance, but we believe that this opens up an opportunity to apply our new development standards to the multifamily. The second is, and this has to do with the affordable housing, we recommend a development agreement and Osprey Point PUD document shall be revised to require that a minimum of 75% of the multifamily units are affordable to individuals and families earning 80% or less of county median income, with established monitoring and period of affordability acceptable to the county. And so that, unlike just a straightforward rezoning, that would, provide some performance as far as, providing that affordable housing. The existing development agreement has a dedication of a half-acre site for public safety. I believe it specifically says EMS. The amended master plan doesn't show this, but we recommend that needs to be addressed when the development agreement amendment or is opened up as well. And then finally, as I mentioned, a development agreement that accompanies the PUD needs to address the proposed changes to the master plan accordingly, along with any additional items staff county deem appropriate during negotiations for consideration of this requested development agreement amendment. So, and the applicant is here. So I don't know if you have questions.
If they would like to
well.
speak at this time.
All right.
And then we'll open it up for questions from council. Okay. But come forward, please.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
State your name.
Thank you. My name is Walter Messer. I'm an attorney with the Byrne Foreman Law Firm, and we represent the applicant in this matter. I just wanted to lend my support to what Mr. Merchant said. We've met with staff, and we understand and appreciate that the PUD documents will all be opened up and revisited, as well as the development agreement. So all the conditions that the council desires to be imposed on the applicant, as well as modernization of the planned unit development documents and the master plan, that can all take place as part of this process. And we ask that, we appreciate that there is some people who do not want apartments in their backyard. However, affordable housing, there's a critical need for additional housing stock in Beaufort County in all municipalities, and importantly, affordable housing. And this project, as it's designed, ameliorates some of the impacts and some of the effects of the planned unit development as it exists. The higher level of traffic on South Carolina Highway 170, the need for housing. And it was pointed out at the Planning Commission meeting that for it to be a planned unit development, it has to be a mix of uses, and we appreciate that. And that's why we've added back in a commercial component, specifically to address some of the concerns that have been stated to council, that when people were purchasing their homes in Mayland Bluff, they expected to be able to take their golf cart to get a sandwich or a cup of coffee, something like that, a smaller, less less traffic generating type use. But we believe that this is a proper use for this property. It buffers the single-family use as provided in the county's community development code. This is the appropriate place for this kind of development, and we ask that you move it forward to council, and during that period, we can work together with staff and come up with appropriate amendments to the development agreement and the master plan. And we do agree that 75% of the units, what's being proposed, 75% of the units are to be affordable housing. And we'd like to further limit that affordable housing by either taking 40% of the 75 at 60% of area median, or taking 30% and making it, that's not the right number, I'm sorry.
20% at 50.
20% at 50% of area median income. And those area median income references would be adjusted by family size. But we do think that this is a great opportunity for the county to put a dent in the need for affordable housing. And we're glad to answer any questions that council may have.
I have a question. I'm going to open it up, but I have one question. And I know this would be subject probably to negotiations, but would this portion of this have its own amenities, or would they use the amenities of the housing behind?
It would be a separate community, and so they would have no rights to use any of the amenities or features of the single-family residential portion of the planned unit development. The project itself would have its own amenities. That
was my question. It'd have its own amenities. Okay. All right, let's open it up for questions. Who would like to start? All right, Mr.
I'll
Councilman
start.
Cunningham.
Unless anybody else wants to go first?
No.
Because I have, okay. The person that owns this property, do you know if it's the same person that owned the property of Mainland Bluff?
Yes, sir, I believe that's a true statement.
Okay, so the person that built that beforehand then is the same one that told them commercial space was going in there for them?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Cunningham. The owner of the property today, so I believe the owner of the property today is the same organization that sold the single-family residential portion to Pulte, but we don't have anything to do with that. And so the currently commercial out parcels are owned by that separate entity.
But did that entity tell Pulte Homes that they would keep this as commercial with access to Mainland Bluff? I'll make it a little clearer. So the issue I have with it, I'll be honest, is it sounds like a quick buck for this getting rezoned. These people that went into Mainland Bluff went in and paid to get their houses built with the promise that they were going to get commercial space. Not 7,000 square foot, but 200 and some thousand square foot. If I got those numbers correctly, it's not on the screen anymore. That's a problem for me. I believe that's hurting people's investments. That's giving them the intentions that they were making an investment in that area in Oakity, which is an area we do want to continue to grow in Beaufort County. And then their investments within a matter of 2 years, when the agreement was done in 2019, have been completely changed on them. I really do have a hard time with that. I get the affordable housing aspect. I understand that Dr. Rodriguez would support that for his staff, but I also hope he's taking into consideration that that zone for Oakity, which is already maxed out, and they have opted out of school of choice because they are maxed out. They've also grandfathered in students there before they maxed out, so they're over capacity. So I think that puts another burden on that school as well. You answered one of my questions. Is this townhomes or apartments?
These are apartments.
So they're going to be apartments. So at the same time, we're not building infrastructure or letting people purchase homes. They're still paying rent, which is the issue I think we continue to fall in Beaufort County, is we're not investing in our residents to build their income. They're giving rent to some form of a company, and that's not sustainable for them for the future. And that's something I think we need to focus on in Beaufort County. When we talk about affordable housing, it's about creating opportunities for people to buy property, to be able to invest in themselves and be able to reap those rewards when they sell it, just like I'm sure your guys' self has done, or your developer has done at some point as well. That's why they purchase it, so they can redevelop it to make profit. I'll tell you, I 100% do not support this. This is the third one that we've gotten this in the past month of people wanting to rezone for more type of apartments. Rent continues to skyrocket. I can tell you where I live is right there on Buckwalter. The apartments are $2,500 and $2,400 a month for a 1 bedroom. That's absurd.
Do you have another question for him?
I do actually, yes. Thank you so much. So it's 200 homes, so it's another 400 cars as well. That's fair. That's fair, 100%. I do also think that my question would be, is the owner of this property going to be perfectly content telling those homeowners that your investment has just changed when you were promised one thing?
Well, again, Ms. Cunningham, we don't have anything to do with the single family. We're not dealing with Pulte Homes. We're not dealing with the single family owners. We're dealing with the owner of the out parcels. Now, that owner, I believe, was the same owner that sold the single family to Pulte Homes. But we're not involved in any of those discussions or negotiations. And I don't want to debate the point, and I very much appreciate your comments, because we feel that they are important. We do feel that there's a critical need for housing in Beaufort County. And most of the people that I ask, we start out in apartments. I do appreciate the need to allow people to step up and to buy homes or get into their own homes, and we support programs like that too. But we don't see that that's the type of program that would work on this particular parcel of land. We do think that having an affordability component gives people a place to live, a place to make a start.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Chairman Passman. Go ahead.
The apartments, will they be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, combinations thereof?
Yes, sir, it's a mix. So there'll be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments.
Okay, your statement is very apropos. When people start off their careers, they often cannot afford anything but an apartment. And it's very difficult in this area to find an affordable apartment. Secondly, sometimes what you do is you move up from your first apartment, but it's a 1 bedroom. Then you may start off with having a small family and move into another apartment before you can afford to move into your first home.
Yes, sir. We also believe that having a market rate component, so 75% of the units at affordable, 25% of the units at market rate, allows a better a mix. It's inclusionary zoning, and that's something that we support.
Mm-hmm. Now, the 7,100 acres, not acres, the 7,100 square feet of retail space, do we have an idea of what that retail space might look like?
No, sir. We think that it would, the proposed master plan that we resubmitted to staff, that staff has had an opportunity to look at, puts it up on South Carolina Highway 170. We're proposing an intersection that would work in concert with the animal shelter intersection, so that would be a place where people can come in, and we do envision a restaurant or something like that that would provide an opportunity for people to stop in and shop and move on, but also serve the residents of the community.
Okay, Councilman Lawson?
Yeah, just one question. I'm not sure if you can help me, but Eric or Mr. Merchant might be able to help me. Obviously, these are apartments, and we've got affordable housing or affordable housing going in that you've given us the ratios. How long does that last? Because obviously it can't be with the property in perpetuity. There has to be an end date to that you'd offer that. So in the agreement you're asking for, how does that work? How long is that in effect?
Well, that would be a term that would be in the development agreement. And so when the development agreement expires, that's the zoning. And what we've done in the past in communities that don't have affordable workforce housing is we tie it to the business license requirement. So on an annual basis, the management company would have to renew their business license. They would come to the county and certify that 75% of the units are, have that kind of a certification and provide the evidence to the county as part of the business license process. But it would be in the development agreement, and it would be, which is for a term of years.
And in that term of years, it could be negotiated, correct?
Yeah, we would push from a staff standpoint
for either 20 or 25 years. So it'll be restricted.
And just as a reminder with the developer, we're talking about financing this with tax credits, which brings with it a minimum of 15 years, likely 30 years of affordability. And that's a land use restriction agreement that's recorded against the real estate.
Good, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I had a question. Oh, you want, go ahead, Councilman.
You mentioned that the planning board, commission voted against this recommendation, and the vote was what?
6-1 for no.
Okay.
I had a question regarding, if you know, I can't remember off the top of my head, we talk about 80% of AMI. What is that for a family of 4 or a family of 2?
Rent wise?
Yes.
Probably looking at $1,200 to $1,300.
For a family of 4?
By the time we get to the AMI at the point that these people.
And that was one of the suggestions I heard was 80%. 1 bedroom would be, I could imagine, like for teachers, which I think their salary's $42,000 a year now, maybe.
Yeah, you'd have to ask them what their target rents would be. They probably already know that from a market standpoint. The one thing I want council to be aware of before you make the recommendation, not trying to do this as to scuttle the rezoning or anything, but you all need to understand that 207 units with impact fee waivers, you're looking at having to cover unless we put something in the development agreement. And from a county administrator standpoint, since the developer is going to be reaping a quicker return on his investment for commercial property, the staff and I have talked about making the developer pay for the affordable housing impact fee waiver, but that'll be in excess of $1 million that you all will have to cover as a council. So just be mindful of that.
How many apartments are we talking about? 200?
207. And 204. So if you took half of that, if you took half of the $15,000 that it costs right now for this area for impact fees, you're looking at about 1.5.
That we would have to cover.
Either that or
they would have to
write it into development agreement that the person selling the property has to provide that to you all to cover it when he sells the property. And that's what we'll be recommending from a county administration.
So if we enter in negotiations for that,
That's right.
and they hypothetically refuse, then they wouldn't get their zoning, hypothetically, right?
That's correct.
Okay. It's a chicken and the egg one. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm certainly going to comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mhm. Did you have a question, Councilman Rodman, before we go?
I'll go after Paul.
I was just going to comment. A lot of effort went into that development agreement to put commercial up there. A lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and the outcome of that development agreement affects a lot of people. And to suddenly change it, to upend it like that, and go to apartments is pretty traumatic to the area. I mean, I don't know how many of you have been to Pooler lately and see what that looks like. I've never seen that many apartments in that small an area in my entire life. Or what Jasper County is going to put on the ground across on the other side of 170. There are going to be plenty of apartments in the area. I'm very concerned that we make a commitment essentially to an area, and then all of a sudden we're going to turn it upside down and say no, we're going to do something which is very inconsistent with what we intended to do, and that troubles me greatly. Affordable housing is always an issue. It's always going to be an issue. Developers see opportunities there because there are opportunities there, especially given the ordinance that we all passed, that we would pay the school impact fees, 100% of them for up to what, 80% of AMI? I can't remember how it was written.
60% of AMI. AMI
okay.
is 100%.
So it's a little less than 100%. Still a lot of money. So I see this kind of like the Planning Commission did. Whoa! I react. Whoa! This is pretty traumatic to the area and to the work that we've done in that area to create the original development agreement and the zoning that went along with it. So I'd have to be convinced a lot more than I am now to support it, and I can't support it.
Yeah, so just for everyone's memory on this, I don't think, I don't know how to say this without just coming right out and saying that, but I don't think anybody on the county council or the staff supported the work that was done on Mayland Bluff. We did it for different reasons. Even Mayland Bluff residential single-family area is not the same standard as the county would require for single-family dwellings in any other area of the county. They don't meet the design requirements. Those houses do not meet the design requirements in our community development code. But we gave a lot of ground on this development in order to keep it in the county, to prevent annexation from the town of Hardyville. I recommended as planning director, as we were going through those negotiation processes, and I may be making your point here, Mr. Somerville, that they preserve the right in this area to convert this commercial area to multifamily, because the market, given this proximity to Argent Boulevard and what's going in across the road on 170 in Jasper County and Hardyville and down the road and all that, the market, if it ever achieves any kind of commercial viability for someone to put commercial there, it is going to take many, many years, decades, for this area of the county to support commercial uses. So that's why during the negotiations, I recommended when I was planning director that they preserve the right in the development agreement and the PUD to convert this to multifamily should they not be successful in selling it for a commercial use, which I didn't think so back then it would be a viable commercial opportunity. I don't think so today. And the person that's doing this rezoning probably feels the same way, or he would have been selling it for commercial. He'd been selling commercial pad sites out there already. He can't do it, and he's going to have to wait many years in order for this to be viable commercial opportunity there. There's no one here. There's no house. There's no rooftops in this area to support that. Mayland Bluff doesn't carry enough rooftops to support a significant amount of commercial uses in this area, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for rooftops, and they're looking for trips driving by. They may have the trips driving by on 170, but they do not have the rooftops in this area to support a lot of people doing a large commercial investment here. So I understand your point, but apartments would generate far less traffic, would generate about the same tax benefit as commercial in this area. So,
Councilman Rodman?
Yeah, a couple things. One, relative to annexation, could Jasper still annex that piece, or is that a done deal?
Hardyville nor Jasper, the development agreement prevents the annexation.
Okay, so it takes care of that.
Right.
And the numbers, Rob, it was the number of trips, it was 790, I think you said, if it was commercial, and was it, how many if it was
90.
90?
Yeah, 90. per
So
hour,
it's
right?
roughly about 9 times the amount. It does seem to me that we all know we have a problem with affordable housing, a big problem. And the only way, a good way to solve that will be if we can increase more of it, because it is market driven in terms of the rates. So I tend to think this makes sense as a staff recommendation for all the comments that you've made. I think it's a logical thing to do.
Any other comments from, before you come in, I'd like to make comments of my own, to Mr. Greenway's comments about traffic by it. You know, we know of the huge Kroger that was built on Burkhalter. The trips that go by there are people that live in those already established neighborhoods. And I think it was, you know, the people in the commercial business know what they're doing. And I think Mr. Greenway's point is well taken, that the commercial will not happen here for a very long time. And so that's why I think a big reason why I understand why the owner wants to do this. I want everyone to understand that if we do pass this on up to full council, we can also have a subcommittee form to work with staff on the negotiations with the agreement from my conversations with Mr. Greenway. So we have an opportunity to have input with staff on the PUD agreement too. So it's like two parallel paths, zoning and then negotiations if it is rezoned and what we can do. Okay, Councilman Cunningham, go ahead.
Thank you. And first off, I don't mean to get frustrated with y'all. This just comes at us every other week with the new zoning, and so I do apologize for that if it was me being frustrated. But I understand Eric's logic behind it, you know, but I also know that that agreement was probably negotiated on by the original landholder and Pulte before they made the sale, because it'd be a bad business move if you didn't. I'm going to use Chris Hervishon's words that he always loves to ask. How does this help the people of Malin Bluff? How does this help the people of Beaufort County? And Malin Bluff started building a little over a year ago. I think they're halfway sold out. So we've only given it a year for retail space to go there. And I don't even know if it's been put on the market yet for retail space or been advertised whatsoever or opportunities created for it. I don't know. But 15, 18 months doesn't seem like a valuable argument to tell somebody their investment that they just got done signing on a dotted line is changing already. I don't see how putting an apartment complex in front of their neighborhood helps Malin Bluff. Those people were very well aware that commercial space was going there. A lot of them decided to move there based on that. I just struggle with that. You guys have your job, the developer has his job to make money. I get that, I'm all for it. But it's also our job to protect the people of Beaufort County and protect their investments. And this is one of them. So I'll leave it at that, but thank you.
Councilman Somerville?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. Maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but I thought I heard that with apartments, it's only going to generate 90 trips a day?
An hour.
Oh, an hour.
An hour.
Oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Considerably less than commercial on average.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
And I want to make it clear for the record that there's a development agreement pending on this property. Malin Bluff is cruising right along with their development, and so far they have failed to meet any of their obligations on the development agreement. We're working through that right now, and we're not gonna give them any more phases until we have some response on their obligations underneath the development agreement.
Would that be Pulte?
That would be Pulte.
So not the people buying, but Pulte. So not our taxpayers, but the business Pulte.
Pulte, the development
Okay.
company, and this developer that owns this property, because it's a joint development
Right.
agreement. What happens is the developer entered into the development agreement, he sells a portion of the property, he assigns those obligations to the development agreement to Pulte. Then it's two different entities at that point.
Right.
Pulte has obligations, the developer has obligations. We've got to get those two together and make sure that we have a game plan to say, okay, guys, who's doing these roads, who's doing these improvements, who's doing these buffers that are required for the county park that's going in behind the animal shelter, who's doing all that and when's it going in, because you all are getting close to being done with this residential section. So I don't want to create a picture here that, you know, everybody at Pulte's doing everything they're required to do in good faith, because I don't know that that's the case either. So.
Go ahead.
Hey, Alice?
Yeah, well, okay, then can Councilman Glover go ahead of you?
No.
Okay, all right, Chairman Passman, go ahead.
Yes. Were you taking comments from anybody who was online? Because there's a gentleman who has had his hand raised for a period of time.
Well, we had public comment period already.
I said he would talk about with the part, that's David Bennett.
Oh, he's a part of the owner.
He's the applicant.
Okay, certainly he's part of the owner. We'll go ahead and do that, and then Councilman Glover, go ahead.
Well, let me ask a quick question, since you raised that point, Mr. Greenway. What kind of stick do we have to
The
make
development
sure?
agreement. The development agreement. The development agreement is the stick.
Which means that we would have to take them to court.
Don't have to take them to court. We can stop there. We can declare them in breach of the development agreement and stop their development if they don't
Not
address
issuing
the
a
breach.
permit to build.
We're getting close. I'm not saying we're there yet. We got to have a meeting with them. We got to do something called their annual review to find out where they stand and what their plan is and when those things are going to be done on their side of the equation. And then if they don't do it in accordance with the code, we issue a letter, give them some time to respond, to comply, and then if they don't comply, then we have we go to court and we stop the development.
Okay, Mr. Bennett, who is a part of the ownership, go ahead.
Let me ask one more question.
Oh,
before
yes.
this. Does the owner of the property that's in question here that wants to have it rezoned, that sold the property to Pulte, I'm sorry, do they have any liability for what Pulte does or doesn't do, or did they completely let themselves off the hook by selling that property? I can't imagine that they did.
Well, yeah, so they don't have, so to answer your question, they would say that they don't have any liability for those obligations that Pulte has on their portion of the property, and that's probably true. But if there's things in the development agreement that talk about a road being constructed between Pulte and this property and all of that other stuff that might be a joint thing, then they can't assign that away. They're ultimately responsible for those overall requirements of the development as a whole that makes the development work from a transportation standpoint.
It's hard for me to believe that you could have contractual obligations and just let yourself off the hook by selling it to some guy down the road.
I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that either. And certainly, and that's why folks need to understand, and the applicant online needs to understand, when we crack open the development agreement, it's game on for Beaufort County. We're going to clean up both sides of the equation, and they can stand up and say, oh, we don't have anything to do with Pulte, but when that development agreement opens up, I'm going to use it as an opportunity to clean up everything in that development agreement that we're dealing with right now. So I've made that clear to all parties. So.
Sorry, Alice, thank you.
No, that's fine. Okay, Mr. Bennett, go ahead. I'm sorry I didn't see your hand raised.
That's okay, Alice. I hope you're doing well. It's sure nice to see you all again, and appreciate the opportunity and your consideration of our request. As most of you know, I've sat on your side of the dais. I understand the need to measure the pros and cons and ultimately seek solutions that benefit all of our constituents. In your case, you have a county-wide constituency. Now, the county, a couple of years back, went through a significant effort to try to understand its need for affordable housing from one end of the county to the other, both in terms of rental housing as well as for sale housing. And the answer we received, and I know you know this real well, Alice, is that we had a gap at that point in time of 5,500 affordable homes throughout the county. About 2/3 of those were in the rental realm. And since that point in time, in southern Beaufort County, we have delivered 0. And I think the reason that you may be getting requests for rezonings, if indeed they're for affordable housing as opposed to traditional market rate of housing, is because there is no ground that is zoned for multifamily development that is suitable for affordable housing in southern Beaufort County. And this is the first site that we found that we believe is a good location and meets a need both right there in that specific area as well as in overall southern Beaufort County. So we're trying to address that need. Why is that a benefit to the constituencies of all across Beaufort County? Because the employers right now in southern Beaufort County are screaming for workers and they can't find them. And that's becoming more and more of an issue. It's an issue in our schools right now, which is why Dr. Rodriguez and Mr. Campbell both supported our proposed request to rezone the site to permit affordable housing. They are having trouble attracting and retaining quality teachers. And our housing is a step towards them being able to provide that to them. It's a step for them to be able to attract that good quality teacher that will teach our children. And we can take that situation and apply that to any number of employers all across southern Beaufort County, all of which are looking for good quality workers to build their businesses and serve the residents of Beaufort County as well as the visitors.
It's becoming, you may be too far away from your speaker. It's going in and out.
I keep hearing that our Oakland Elementary School is over capacity, and so I took the time to review the most recent strategic plan for Beaufort County Schools, which was just issued a couple of weeks ago. And it reports that the Oakland Elementary School is operating at 76% of projected capacity. And that is what is expected to be through 2027, which is the end of the study period of the report. So I don't know where the misinformation is being derived from, but that is what the strategic plan for Beaufort County is indicating. The rents that we propose in our development, depending upon whether we're talking about a household that's earning 60% of the area median income or 80, we are looking at one-bedroom rents of anywhere from $800 a month to roughly $995 per month. And we can go through those same examples for a 2- and a 3-bedroom apartment home, but they are well below the market. And I think, I can't remember which councilman was talking about the rents beginning at $2,400 a month in Southern Beaufort County, but he's right. Our housing is put forth to address that issue. And the reason that many individuals or many residents of affordable housing have a very difficult time moving up to become homeowners is because they're rent overburdened where they're at. And when you address that issue, the issue of them being rent overburdened by providing them good quality affordable housing that they can afford, then all of a sudden they move from being rent overburdened to having the ability to save some of their income and ultimately move forward to becoming homeowners. But unless we all work together to intervene and step into that situation and provide good quality housing for them that is at an affordable level, they're never going to get out of the position of being rent overburdened. And what ultimately happens from our experience of more than 20 some odd years in the development business is that the households that can't afford it, they move farther and farther away from the epicenter of their workplace. And that issue exacerbates itself. So I think what we're offering here today is an opportunity for the county to take a situation, reduce projected traffic into the future, and intervene, address, at least taking a step towards providing good quality affordable housing that helps the employer base and indeed all the citizens across the county, including our schools and our children. So I'm asking for the council's support to move this forward.
Thank you, former Mayor Bennett.
Thank you very much.
Okay. At this time, unless someone else has some questions, I'd like to entertain a motion for number 10.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All right, discussion. Who would like to make comments? Discussion. And we will take a roll call vote, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Any more thoughts? Discussion?
I have one question that I just want us to look at as a council later. If what Mr. Bennett said is true about Oakland being at 76%, then we should probably find out why they have closed open enrollment of school choice at Oakland.
I'm not sure I understand. I mean, I'm aware of school choice, but that's not something that's not.
Schools usually.
I understand
yeah.
school choice completely, but that's not something that is necessarily a bad thing. That just means the school is not at 100% capacity.
Correct, but they stop school choice when they're at capacity.
Well,
in Beaufort County.
yeah, you have different facts than he does. So he said 76%, and you're saying it's at full capacity. So
We'll do what we can.
yeah, we just have to find out. We can find out what the story is.
Alice, I'm happy to provide a copy of that page from the strategic plan to you if that's helpful.
That's fine. I'm not disagreeing with your numbers. I'm curious why they're not allowing school choice if they're not at capacity is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
Neither can I.
I sure don't know. I understand what school choice is, of course. All right. So we're going to do a roll call vote. Any other discussion or comments? I'd just like to make a comment that I am going to vote for this for several reasons. One being that I see this as an opportunity to address a need in our county in an area where we have a need. I look kind of forward to the opportunity that we can open up the PUD and negotiate with the owners too. I unfortunately think that many of the people who commented against this, it was more about not in my backyard. I don't want to live next to apartments, which I think that goes back to who do we want to live next door to? The people who are our teachers, the people, to quote Mr. Greenway, the people who answer our 911 calls, and the people who put the fire out in our house. And I think that's the people that would be living in these apartments. And that's the reason I'm going to vote for it too, those two main reasons. All right, Councilman Rodman.
Yeah, Eric, one last question. By doing this, are we violating any rules that we operate under in the zoning or any planning principles by approving this change, in your mind? Are we violating a good way to do business, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's fine for you all to rezone properties. You know, in this particular case, you're not violating anything. You're not violating terms of development agreement. You have the right to amend the development plan for the planned unit development if you choose to do so. Okay. Now, there's one Supreme Court ruling about mixed use. This is a unique situation. It's my opinion that the developer and the applicant has corrected that situation by originally they wanted to do all apartments up here with no commercial, and they've gone back in now and put in the commercial component, so it still does qualify for mixed use, as to have a pizza shop, restaurant, or some sort of retail area right there, whatever might meet the needs of the community. So small scale commercial in this location is a good thing. It will provide a benefit and a need to the community.
Okay.
Okay, we ready for the vote? No one has a hand raised, okay. Councilman Rodman, you made the motion.
I'll vote yes.
Councilman Dawson made the second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Councilman Pat Glover, I'm going in alphabetical.
Right now, I got reservations, so I'm going to vote no.
All right, Councilman Passament?
Yes.
Councilman Somerville?
No.
Councilman Lawson?
Mark Lawson, yes.
Councilman Cunningham?
No.
Councilman McKellen?
No.
All right, and the chairman votes yes, so it's 4 yes and 5 no. Okay.
5-4, yes.
5-4. Okay, so it
Yes.
does not pass. All
Oh,
right.
it did pass.
Was it? 5-4. Oh, I counted somebody. I'm sorry.
Yep.
All right, so it did pass 5-4. All right. So this moves on to council. All right, number 11. Discussion of negotiations incident to propose contractual arrangements and proposed sale or purchase of development rights on real property known as Beach City Road.
Yeah, it's me again. This is a unique situation. So I wanted to do the presentation. This is a joint application that you're looking at today from Town of Hilton Head and from Beaufort County regarding a parcel fronting Beach City Road. It's about a half-acre parcel. It fronts Beach City Road in Hilton Head, right behind the Cherry Hill School, which is right across the street from the Cherry Hill School's on the National Historic Register. Cherry Hill School, if you recall, sits right across the street from the St. James Church. So as a secondary component here, as you recall, we are working with the FAA on the relocation of St. James Church and the Cherry Hill School to another location to protect the airspace of the airport, Hilton Head Airport. Primarily, though, this property is of historic significance because of the historic congregation of the St. James Church, the historic nature of the Cherry Hill School site, the proximity to Mitchellville, and the proximity to other properties fronting Beach City Road that the county currently owns with the Town of Hilton Head Island. We're seeking permission from you all this afternoon, a recommendation to proceed with due diligence regarding the purchase of this property for rural and critical lands to preserve the property as open space. The property is, the value of the property right now for the half acre is about $154,000. But we're asking you all to allocate up to $10,000 from Natural Resources Committee for us to do the due diligence, to make sure everything's clean, to get a new appraisal, to get a survey, to get a title, a phase one done on the property, and then bring that back to you all at a future date for acquisition for a rural and critical lands program. Eventually, secondary concern, eventually this property could be transferred to the Hilton Head Airport through a reimbursable purchase agreement with the FAA, and 90% of the money be reimbursed to the county for the purchase of the property.
Okay.
But we are purchasing it right now because of its proximity to Mitchellville, Cherry Hill School, the other properties that we own through the Rural and Critical Lands Program on Beach City Road.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, the rural and critical lands are going to pay the entire amount, Mr.
Yes, sir. That's the proposal right now.
Sorry?
That's the proposal currently, yes.
Who's going to own the land? Rural and critical lands?
Yeah, Beaufort County through the Rural and Critical Lands Program.
Got it.
Councilman Glover?
No, I'm gonna offer a motion to
Okay.
move forward.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. I have a quick question. This, would rural and critical then possibly could even get reimbursed for it eventually?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If
And
we-
you can,
if we made
does this have to go to full council? It doesn't, does it?
No.
Not the allocation of the 10 grand.
The 10,000.
You know,
Okay. All right. Without objection, we will pass this and you can go forward with the due diligence. Thank you. All right, let's do, we have number 12 and number 13. Would you care to, they're both identical, you know, explain them both at the same time? We can vote on them at the same time, okay?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Council Committee. I'm presenting to you the two items as follow-ups, items 12 and 13, in particular from last month's February 7th Natural Resource Committee. At that meeting, these items were presented as background only. These items were then taken and presented and approved by the Stormwater Utility Board on February 9th and approved, as I mentioned. Today I'm formally presenting for your action these two IGAs for the city and the town of Port Royal respectively as they pertain to the utility, stormwater utility.
Okay, and I hope everyone had a chance to look at those in your package and the language in them. Any comments or questions? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Are these the ones where we would be withdrawing, trying to ask the basis
Yes,
for?
sir. That's it.
I never understood why we did that to begin with.
Yes, sir. And the town and city are aware of this. We, I know that they've been discussions back and forth with them, so, and I have not, I'm sure you have not heard anything negative from them about this.
Correct.
So the next step would be for them to, is this the last step, I guess?
This is a resolution.
This is a no more. We're good. Okay, that was my question. All right. All right, now entertain a motion for number 12 and number 13 together.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Cunningham, a second,
A second.
and Councilman Rodman, second. Without objection or any discussion, these two will be resolved. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna take these appointments separately, 14, 15, and 16. So number 14 is recommend approval of reappointment of John Chimsack to the Beaufort County Zoning Board of Appeals for a second term with an expiration date of 2025. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. And without objection, this reappointment is done. Okay, we'll go forward to full council. Number 15 is recommend approval of the appointment of Evan Bromley or Chester Williams to fill the Southern Beaufort County Attorney opening on the Zoning Board of Appeals. This seat will have an expiration date of 2026. Do I have a nomination for one of the two?
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Yes, sir, Councilman.
Move to nominate Mr. Evan Bromley for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
All right,
He is an attorney and he is in Hilton Head. He fills 2 slots.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, without objection. All right, Mr. Bromley will be nominated for the term to expire in 2026. I would like to add that Chet Williams had been on the board for many years. He joined it in 2004, and we would like to express our thanks for his many years of service. All right. Number 16, recommend approval of, these are all appointments to the library board. So we have Janet Porter for a second term expiring in 2026. Joseph, I always have trouble with his last name, Bogus, for a third term expiring in 2026. Bernard Cole for a fourth term expiring in 2026. Lynn Miller for a fourth term expiring in 2026. Brenda Powell for a third term expiring in 2026. Rosalie Richmond for a third term expiring in 2026, and Anne Marie Tavernick for a fourth term expiring in 2026 to the Beaufort County Library Board. Is there any members of council that wants to vote individually on these appointments? No? Hearing none? Okay. I'd like to have a recommendation.
Approval.
Okay, Councilman Dawson, move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilman Somerville. So, all these fine people on the library board will be reappointed for their various terms if approved by full council. And at this time, we are going to go into executive session, concerned sale, pursuant to South Carolina Code, 30-4-70A2, discussion of negotiations incident to proposed contractual arrangements and proposed purchase or sale of property, New Riverside Library and Port Royal Boat Landing. Mr. Kevin, do you think we'll have matters arising out of this?
Very much. It's possible.
It's possible, okay. All right, so we will adjourn to executive session and then come back in here and adjourn the natural. Oh, I need a motion and a second to
I'll
go into
motion.
executive session. Okay, Councilman Cunningham made a motion. We have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Without objection, we're going into executive session. Thank you. And please remember, everyone, there was something put on your desk to bring that with you into executive session. Yeah, looks like this.
I got mine.
Yeah, thank you.
divided among all the different drive-throughs that you're
Have
going
a
to
good
permit.
evening. Yes, sir. Thank you, Stu.
Why you need a motion?
It's not a meeting.
Oh, I did.
No, I'm fine with that.
I mean, I just.
I have no problem with answering right now. I have a problem with the hydro report saying, let's explore the options, and not say, listen, we're not coming here, you need to move on. Because if they were told they would move on,